I don't know why, but in the past 6 months, I've had the worst amount of sleep that I've had like ever. Like there have been more nights that I've gotten like maybe like 5 hours of sleep or like even less than that in comparison to like the rest of my life, like before that 6 month period. And it's kind of ironic because I remember pretty much my life until COVID hit. I'd have a nightlight on, there would be no fans in my room, and my door to my room would just be completely open. And in that hallway itself is its own separate like nightlight that keeps the hallway brighter and my room in general more bright. And I'm pretty sure my parents use the heater sometimes, and that makes it worse because the ideal sleeping condition, at least for me, is to have total pitch black, a very cold room, and like just complete silence. But for some reason, before COVID, I was able to probably sleep in like a wilderness, which I don't understand how I did that, but it probably just stems from the fact that I didn't think well back then. But now, like, since I have such deep critical thinking, in return, I spend so much time on TikTok that my brain just doesn't turn off in a reasonable amount of time when I'm trying to sleep. Basically, like, an example of this is like a Sunday to a Monday where I have school on that Monday. If I'm not tired within like 1 a.m., I'm just not going to sleep. Because my mom doesn't make me go to sleep, but my mom basically advocates me to not go to sleep at like 2 a.m., which is a good thing, and I support that. But like if I'm not like quote unquote tired, like if I'm not feeling tired at that time, it's just everything I'm gonna do at that point is just pointless. But in contrast to that, honestly, like having those sleepless nights is kind of cozy because I've never had that like type of vibe where it's like 3 a.m. and I don't know how to prepare myself for that. So the past two times that I've had a sleepless night within that 6 month period, I've just been playing games on my phone. Like I haven't mastered the art of doom scrolling yet, so I'm not good at doom scrolling at like 3 a.m. But my first sleepless night ever was actually when I was like 8 or something, and this was also the first time that I had an infection in my finger. And within that like period of having an infection, I think I had like 5 in 1 year, which I think just happens when you're trying to like bite your nail, and you maybe go a little too deep into your on the sides of your finger, and it starts to like infect your finger because you're putting germs into like that very specific part. But since I was 8, I didn't know how to control my emotions, and I still didn't until I was like maybe 10. But I just kept crying all night, and even though like I went to bed at like 10, I kept crying until like midnight when my dad went to check on me, and I just still kept crying for like no reason. And my entire family heard it. So on top of me not having any sleep, my entire family did not, because our rooms are like all combined, not combined, all like in a close radius. But since I cry loud back then when I was like 8, everyone heard it, and I just remember feeling bad, and my mom got mad at me, reasonably. But ever since then, like when I have a sleepless night, I have to be very quiet because I have to learn from that precedent I set myself when I was 8, and it's kind of difficult because every sound you make at like 3 a.m. is like 8 times louder no matter what you do. So it's been a lot more challenging. It's more of a challenge rather than an actual vibe at some point. Because another thing I think that is keeping me from having more sleepless nights than the two times I've already had it in the past 6 months is the fact that my mom purposely put my phone charger on the opposite side of the house to where my room is. And I think that's the only thing that is keeping me from going insane or like have total complete loss of sleep. Because I've already said about the doom scrolling part, I'm not good at that. But if I ever perfect that, let's say if I go to like college, I'm just cooked. Because like if I'm not tired by like 1 a.m., then I'd probably just go back to going on TikTok. I remember my first true sleepless night was a year and a half ago when Thanksgiving break just ended and I had to go to school the next day. And I just remember not being able to sleep because at like 8 p.m. when me and my family were returning home from the clothing store in Columbia, down at where my state is in California. Um, I just remember listening to this like one Pig Step animation movie trailer like soundtrack from like the Alan Becker Minecraft versus animation stick figure guys, and I remember like listening to the orchestral melody, and it was just a masterpiece. But that was also the biggest consequence I suffered that day because I was trying to go to bed at like 12:30, which is early for me, and my brother is at home because this was a year and a half ago, and my mind could not get that pick step melody out of my head. So the entire night my head was just blasting the pick step orchestral melody, and it just would not go away. I remember like it was like 30 minutes. I was like, okay, it's time to stop playing this melody. And then it would hit 1 a.m. and then 2 a.m. and then 3 a.m. and then 4 a.m. And I was like, okay, this is just not going to work. I'm not going to be able to sleep. I started tearing up, not going to lie, but I got rid of it quickly because I was like, this is really the first time I'm really having a sleepless night and I'm not like hating it. So I kind of stuck with that vibe. And honestly, it wasn't a good decision, but I kind of see why people do it. Cuz like it's kind of nice having the quote unquote freedom to just wander around or like doom scroll, but it's not something I would recommend. I don't know why, but I had another sleepless night without my brother in here, and it was I just kind of felt bad at that point cuz like I'm not used to this. I don't know what's been going on, but like it's never been more hard to fall asleep now despite all of my environment being 8 times better than what it was before, yet getting sleep habit that's just 8 times worse than what it was before. And that just does not make sense to me. Like how does that happen? Like how does my brain work like that? Anyways, so I have a Ghost energy drink here. It's the American Pop flavor, and this thing is gas, but I think that the Sour Patch flavors are a lot better. And an honest review of the Ghost Energies, the ones I've had in order are the Sour Patch Red Berries, and then the Sour Patch Blue Raspberry, and then American Pop is third, and then stemming outside of Ghost, I think the Celsius Blue Raspberry is the fourth best energy drink I've had. Probably just because I'm a sucker for Blue Raspberry, but it's still good. Also, getting 100 views on my first video when I put Feinberg in my title is crazy. But that video's average viewer duration is 1 minute 14 seconds.